Bill. And we are live. So, welcome to episode 161 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, we've got Bill Boy, straight from another dimension, but he's here tonight to talk some Del Toro. And we've got Eric from Hey Internet Eric here, who's always a pleasure to have on the show.
Glad to be
here. You guys go back, as the Allman Brothers say, back where it all begins. You know, you guys were there at the start, and
pretty much
here you are still now. Ryan was supposed to be here, but he had his appendix out, and he's a big pussy. So he said, I wasn't feeling it today, and I couldn't watch the movie. So I'm sure, knowing Ryan, he's probably sitting there thinking about his own mortality or something after having his fucking appendix out, you know. And then
if I had
Julia,
my appendix out, I would be enjoying myself. They would be
exactly
24/7.
He got 2 weeks off work. What the fuck's he doing? Like staring at the walls. His wife is out of the house. His wife is out of the house. His kids are out of the house. I'd be day drinking and just having all kinds of fucking good times. This motherfucker can't even come on a podcast.
I had one day off last week because of a chest cold, and I was up just watching the TV for 24 hours. Like, I don't have to get up tomorrow and deal with kids.
Fuck you, again. Next episode, fuck off. Just open the window. Fuck you fucking slaves. Get under there like Ben-Hur and row that fucking boat. Ramming speed. Boom, 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 boom. And unfortunately, we also were supposed to have Julia here, but she's actually got a number of things going on tonight, and Julia's made it tough.
Women's Day. Why should she be here talking to us about movies? She's got important things to do.
It's Women's Day. There's nothing important to do. I mean, you know, I don't know what the fuck I don't know what day's going on up there with you, but down here.
In her defense, she stays up till like 2 a.m, you know, to hang out with us losers. So
yeah, she stayed up till 3 o'clock the other night, 3 o'clock in the morning, just to hang out with us and fucking talk shit. And you know, she does it every time. You know, she's fucking great at it. I love Julie. She's a sweetie.
We need to put her on the spot, see if she had her appendix out, if she would still be here at 2 a.m.
Oh, you know, Julia would. Yeah, Julia would probably be here. Yeah.
How's John? Has anyone heard from John?
Yeah. Who knows what? It's John. No, I mean, you know, he's still whatever's going on with his legs and his ears and his eyebrows and, you know, his fucking hairline and his
fingernails.
His cuticles, you know, and there's always something. So, you know, but that leaves us, and we're here to talk some fucking Del Toro. Now, we started out this year talking about Zack Snyder.
Yes.
And again, another favorite director of mine and of, you know, yours, guys here.
Mm-hmm.
But Del Toro is doing something different than Snyder. And I'm not knocking Snyder at all. We've covered a little Del Toro on here. We've gone through Mimic, which we said was not his best movie, but still a fucking Del Toro movie.
Okay.
We've got The Shape of Water.
Oh, yeah.
Which I've never actually seen. It won Best Picture. I own it, and I've never actually fucking seen it. I got to get around to it one of these days. And the guy who played the Amphibian Man is Abe Sapien from this movie.
Yes.
Doug Jones.
Yeah, Doug Jones. I've got the Blade trilogy, but I'm talking in this case about the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Blade 2, which is a great fucking vampire movie. They're all great vampire movies, actually. Even the third one is a decent vampire movie.
Fun.
It's a 90-minute music video, but it's still a vampire movie.
It's a good idea that was ruined by trying to shoehorn too many things into it.
Too many characters.
I was all 100% for it. I love Ryan Reynolds and I love Parker Posey, but god damn it, they ruined that shit.
Well, I had never seen Ryan Reynolds before. He was really funny. I thought he was, you know, because like everybody, no matter who you were the straight man. Because I thought Ryan Reynolds stole every scene.
Yep.
Yeah. He stole it from Wesley Snipes. He stole it from Triple H. I thought Triple H was a really fun comic relief straight man. Dick face. Good. Have you seen my dog?
Yeah.
Have you tried the lobby? It was just really fucking funny. But yeah, the guy that they got to play Dracula was weak. Weak as fuck. That may be one of the weaker Draculas I've ever seen.
I thought he was okay. I did like when he walks into Hot Topic and he sees now he's just a t-shirt and bobbleheads and shit like that. So I thought that was kind of fun.
Okay.
But the biggest problem I had with that one, I gotta say it, they were advertising iPods at the time, and what's her name was like
she was
putting on the iPod before she goes out and hunts vampires. And I'm sitting there like, so she doesn't want to hear them coming.
She had a belly shirt combination bustier working, so that was okay too. That was okay.
Yeah, that was just, cringe. Huh? So much cringe.
What the hell? All right, it wasn't a Del Toro movie. It wasn't Del Toro.
Yeah.
The point is, it wasn't Del Toro. Mm-hmm. We got Crimson Peak, which I kind of like. It's a weird fucking movie. Haunted house and murders and Hiddleston and Jessica Chastain, and it's just fucking weird.
I'm not a huge Charlie Hunnam fan, so that's why I've kind of avoided it for a while.
He's got a very small part in it. He's not a big part of the movie. He's in there for maybe 15 minutes.
Okay, I can stomach 15 minutes of him.
Now this is one of my all-time favorites. Fucking Pacific Rim. Some fucking love letters to the old 70s monster movies, the Japanese kaiju movies, the Space Giants, Ultraman.
Del Toro can do some kaiju, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, he can. We've got what I think is perhaps the best ghost story movie I've ever watched. The Devil's Backbone.
Oh, I have not watched that one.
The Devil's Backbone is the movie he made right after Mimic, because apparently Mimic was one of those production hells from the Weinsteins. He said the Weinsteins just made his life a living hell. And he said that he went over to Spain to make this, and the people there couldn't have been more gracious and said, "You're the creative, just go create. We're going to leave you alone. We don't want to meddle or do anything like that." And he created one of the best ghost stories I've ever seen. It's fantastic, and it's in Spanish. It's a foreign film, like a lot of Del Toro films. We've got Kronos. Kronos is one of the weirdest fucking movies I've ever seen, and I didn't like it until the last 10 fucking minutes. And then I was like, holy shit, this is really fucking, like, the ending just really goes hard, I thought. And you're like, fuck, because I didn't understand what was happening the whole fucking movie. And I think this was his first movie.
Okay.
This was his first ever movie. So you can tell it's really raw, and you got an inkling of what he was going to become, but he wasn't there yet. But the ending, you're like, fuck, man. And even then, Ron Perlman was in it.
Yeah.
You got the piece de resistance, Pan's Labyrinth. I fucking love Pan's Labyrinth. Exactly. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. I always say, give me a story. And this movie gave me a fucking story. I love it. It's just a beautiful fucking work of art. It really is a work of art.
That one was fantastic.
And then we've got what we're here to talk about tonight, at least.
Sure.
Golden Army, but we're here to talk about 2004's Hellboy.
Before we get to Hellboy, have you guys seen his Pinocchio yet on Netflix?
No.
Not yet.
I lost Netflix, man. The whole you can't share passwords thing knocked me out of contention.
Fucking scammer.
I admit it, man.
They caught your ass.
Hey, I've always told you I got access to things, so I'm not judging. But I'll say this: I was so excited when I first saw the trailer, and like I said, that Friday it came out. Me and my daughter, we sat down, we watched it like right when I got home, and it's a little over 2 hours, but I thought it was fantastic. And of course, it's Del Toro. It's sweet and pretty, but there's a lot of dark shit in it, so it's really good.
That's awesome.
So we're here to talk about Hellboy. If you guys are ready, shall we get it going?
Yes, sir.
So I went on longer than I normally did, although you guys got in also. Let's hear your initial thoughts on the film, Bill, and then let's go with Eric first. Eric, initial thoughts on Hellboy.
I remember seeing the trailer because I never read Hellboy comic, never heard of the character, and the first time I saw the trailer was in the theater. I couldn't tell you for what movie, and I didn't know what to think because it was a mixture of action, but then there was a lot of goofy shit in that trailer. So I didn't know at the time if it was a comic book movie to be taken seriously, if it was like a parody or what. So I didn't go see it in theaters. And then one day it was Blockbuster video time, and I was bored on a Saturday night, and I took a chance, and I'm like, okay, well, now I want to read the fucking comic books because I love these characters. Yeah. And just it's now that I know more of Del Toro's work, it's all these weird mythological stuff. It looks pretty. There's some dark shit. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, Bill Boy.
I was kind of a fan of Hellboy. I didn't read a heck of a lot of it, but whenever I would go, looking for D&D stuff at the comic shop or searching out, Star Wars graphic novels, I would always see Hellboy around. And I always thought that was a great idea for a superhero, a great character. I would poke around and see what he's up to. Oh, he's killing this guy. I thought it was a fantastic character. And I was very excited when the movie came out. Very, very cool. I'm a big fan of Ron Perlman. I think he does excellent work, especially in genre. And he's playing, Hellboy. You had John Hurt. You had it was just an exciting thing. I really wanted to see this, and I was not disappointed at all.
No, and I had just finished it up before we went on, about an hour or so before we went on, and I hadn't seen it in quite a long time. Eric was right in that it's got a weird mix of things. It's got some really simplistic things, and then it's got some kind of complicated things.
Yeah.
Some very dark things, and then some very just goofy things. And Del Toro sort of makes it work. And I think what really makes it work is when you consider this movie is almost 20 years old.
Yes.
Yeah. And so you look at the state of comic book movies in 2004 when we had Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow, The Incredibles, Van Helsing, if you want to call that a comic book movie. It was kind of a comic book type movie. The big blockbuster of that year, Spider-Man 2 from Sam Raimi, which is a really solid fucking movie. But none of them, it still holds up to this day. And in many people's minds, it's maybe the best of all the Spider-Man films. But there was nothing like this. This has a completely different tone and a lot of Lovecraft style themes. It's just really weird. Yeah, you're right. You got a great cast. You got Ron Perlman. I don't know if he's a perfect Selma Blair. You got John Hurt. You got Jeffrey Tambor. Jeffrey Tambor. I love Jeffrey Tambor. And for those who might remember, I go far enough back where there was a great comedy sitcom called The Ropers. He was the fucking neighbor who hated the Ropers. And he's just a great comic fucking actor, great sense of timing. And I hadn't seen him in 20 years, or 15 years. I'm like, holy shit, it's Jeffrey Tambor. So immediately, like I'm sitting down as he's the bureaucrat, who's just, hates all the people that are underneath him. He just finds them to be kind of beneath him, and thinks that they're all freaks. So you've got a really solid cast.
Heck yeah.
And an interesting story. It starts off, and I should say right now, if you're looking to watch this, it's streaming right now on HBO Max.
Yep.
If you have HBO Max, that movie, the second movie, and even the new interpretation with David Harbour, which I actually like.
Me too.
I mean, you're looking at me. I'm holding up my own copy of it right now. I had no beef with it. I think a lot of people complained that it wasn't Perlman, but by the time that it come out, Perlman was upwards of 70.
Yeah.
And, you reached your physical limitations within, some parameters.
It was one of those movies people already made their decision before even seeing the fucking movie. When they found out Del Toro wasn't doing it and they found out that, Perlman wasn't doing it, they wouldn't even give it a chance. And I thought David Harbour, he was a great Hellboy.
Yeah, and Ian McShane was great as the professor.
Yep.
What was the problem? It had great effects. It had a decent story. And unfortunately, the fans just wouldn't let it. They wouldn't let it take off.
Anytime I can look at Mila Jovovich, I'm happy too.
Oh, that's right. I forgot
she's the villain.
Yeah. Oh, she's the witch. That's right. Yeah. You're absolutely right. So you got a horror icon in it right there, and she always does a passable job. Even her worst movies are pretty good. So okay, it starts off as many horror stories do with World War II.
Wacky Nazis doing wacky Nazi stuff.
That's exactly right.
Better way to open up a movie, in my opinion.
Look at that evil bastard Cronin. Right, he was one of my favorite characters. As much as I loved Hellboy and the Doctor and Myers and Liz and the Abe Sapien, what I really loved about this movie were the fucking villains.
Oh yeah.
I loved the villains in this. You had this Nazi bastard with some sort of surgical addiction, clad from like the top of his head to the bottom of his feet in black leather, a fucking Gestapo wear. Yeah. And they're trying, with the help of all the fucking villains in history, to call upon they decided to call upon Rasputin.
Yes.
The mad monk, the mad Russian monk Rasputin. And I thought that, they just did a great job with this guy, the guy who plays Rasputin. He doesn't look like anything we've seen in the books. I know they had that Alan Rickman movie from a while back where he's playing Rasputin. And they're trying to break open some kind of portal into another dimension. And it's just, it starts out and it's just, you're like, what the heck? It goes from this gritty thing to all of a sudden this super fine special effects fest when they open that portal and that lamp gets sucked through and the light shines on whatever that thing is in space.
And then the eyes open. That was the best.
Yeah, it absolutely creeped me the fuck out. And I was like, what the fuck is that? It's just fantastic. Fantastic effects. Even for 20 years. 20 years ago.
Buddy, these effects look better than half of the MCU, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a mix. It is a mix of practical effects and CGI. And for the earliness of CGI, you just mentioned, was it The Rocketeer or
Sky Captain?
Sky Captain. That was great, but it's dated. I watched this last night, and these effects don't look dated to me. They look fine.
There were when we got to the Hellhound, the Samael. I saw some limitations there, and I'm not criticizing because it's 20 years old. I'm just stating it objectively. It didn't take away from any of my enjoyment of the film or anything like that. But overall, when we got to scenes like this, and I wish that I could, play it a little bit, but the fucking video will probably get clipped by YouTube.
Well, he's improved a lot. Like we mentioned Blade 2, and I think the main problem I have with Blade 2 is the CGI is bad. You know what I mean? When they're doing the fights, and I have no problem with CGI in this. So it shows that Del Toro he improves as he goes along.
Yeah, and then by the time, oh geez, I didn't mean to do that while the screen was up. I hope I don't get the video clipped. That's what happened with the Universal movies. Yep. We got the video fucking clipped, but it happens.
The good thing about this is that it's hard to explain, but it retains its comic book character, even though it's a live action thing. It feels like a comic book. It feels like I'm looking at the pages a lot more than a lot of comic book movies. They either try too hard to be realistic, or they just have no consistency in. You go from live action to this weird looking CGI. With this, it's seamless. The humans, the live action looks comic booky. The CGI looks comic booky. It is fantastic.
A lot of it, I think, has to do with the colors. Like, Hellboy's not just red. He's like a bright red at times, like you're looking at the comic book. When Liz, when she does her flames, that looks like, just the blue looks like it's straight off the page, ink and stuff like that. So it's really well done.
Del Toro is really good at using color. In the same way that M. Night Shyamalan is. Colors are signifiers, but there's also a lot of complementary colors. Hellboy is red, but there's a lot of yellow offsetting the red, which it doesn't stick out. It sort of complements it, and in the frame, it's just pleasing to the eye the whole time, even though you're looking at a bright red demon on screen.
It's a very smooth kind of thing that he has going on there. But I mean, it also goes to these crazy transitions where we see this, sort of portal opening up. But of course, what we have here are some good old fashioned Americans that are ready to put the fucking whammy on.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, clearly there are defined lines between the good guys and the bad guys, and the Americans are there to stop this thing from happening.
Mm-hmm.
And which they end up succeeding in doing, with some good old fashioned American know-how. They've got some bullets, they've got some grenades. I think there's something we could do about this. This fucking Nazi bullshit. This fucking occult bullshit. We're not putting up with it. And I love that, like the soldiers, that one sergeant, he's just so fucking crass. He's just got sort of this flat foot mentality. He doesn't believe in anything the doctor's doing. But the minute he sees, that it's live, like he doesn't, he's not shocked or anything. They all just go right at it, and just blow the whole fucking place sky high. It's classic fucking Americana right there. And, it's just a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it's shoot first, ask questions later. And it's just a lot of
exactly
fun.
Right. Kill them all, let God sort them out. They're fucking Nazis. We don't want to fucking hear it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fantastic to watch. You get a look at the young doctor.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
There after the gunfight, and he's kind of the occult expert, for the U.S. government or for the Allies, that sort of thing. And he says, well, that portal's been open for a while. There's a better than average chance something has gotten through.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, it's a red ape.
Yeah,
I love Hellboy.
Yeah, it's little baby Hellboy.
Baby Yoda of 2004.
Yeah, except it doesn't go on for 3 fucking seasons. And one of my favorite lines from the whole fucking thing is that one sergeant, he's like, look at the size of that whammer. When he's talking about that big fucking rock hand. Look at it's just like this whole retro dialogue from like back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And next thing the doctor figures out to hand it to baby Ruth, which actually made me hungry. Honest to God, I'm not saying this. It actually made me hungry for a fucking baby Ruth. I'm like, fuck,
Nice.
I could go for
See,
one
that's
of those
good
right
product placement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could have been some generic thing or something like that, but of all the candy bars, he pulls out a fucking baby Ruth, and those things are fucking good. I haven't had a real candy bar in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's your intro, and it just tells you everything you need to know.
7-8 minutes of a origin story. That's all you need. You don't need a 3-movie arc to tell an origin story. That's the way you do it. You're all set.
Right.
You have everything you need to know, and everything in the rest of the movie makes perfect sense.
Yep.
All because of this first 7 minutes.
Yep, and it ends with them snapping the picture. They're snapping the picture, and everybody's happy, and everybody's together, and it's all fucking good.
And what I like is we talked about how how the sergeant is, and you can tell like this is a brotherhood and stuff like that. So then you can kind of tell, because if Hellboy's growing up with these guys, you can tell that's where he gets his attitude from. His snarkiness and just the way he acts, and I love it too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So unfortunately, fucking Rasputin isn't dead, and he just they resurrect him, I guess, from this other dimension. What's it called? The Agdru Jihad. The Agdru, and it's got these sort of Lovecraft type themes in that you've got these ancient evils in a place that is like through a door that you can't see. It's like right there on the outside your periphery or something, but that these ancient evils are kind of sleeping and it's got these, these eye, like you said, the eye, and then later on we see all the tentacles.
Mm-hmm.
But again, keeping with the idea that less is more, which is kind of a constant theme here. Just seeing a little bit is enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because later on there is one criticism that I'll get to, but I mean, throughout the movie, just seeing a few tentacles here and there, it's got a really creepy feeling. So you feel good when those fucking Americans start throwing those grenades, and firing off those Tommy guns. You're like, fuck yeah, get these assholes out of here. We haven't got time for this shit, So, I mean, after Rasputin, is resurrected, we come back to the professor. And we're finding out that, unfortunately, the professor has about 6 weeks to live.
Right.
And, I mean, it really is a good performance, and he always gives a good performance from John Hurt.
Yep.
You can't complain. It's John Hurt, and he's just playing it to the core as the. I don't know, what is he? Is he just the dad? Is it that simple, or is there something more to it?
I just figured surrogate father type of deal. That's all.
Yeah.
Sure, with the added caveat that you got to take this demon from hell and teach it how to be a good Catholic. That's some stakes right there.
Yeah, because you see that he's constantly attached to his rosary.
Yes,
true.
He's very devout because he knows. He doesn't just believe. He knows.
Absolutely knows. Yeah.
And so there's a universe of difference between the two.
This always draws connections for me to Constantine. It's the same deal where
he knows.
He's not only does he know, but he's bringing in all these different bits and pieces from all the different Thais and Santeria, and there's all these things from different mythoses coming together in one glob. And I think this paranormal research center is like that. It reminded me very much of Constantine.
The BPRD.
Yeah.
I believe
it's called. I love it's in Newark. Of all
places. That's so fucking great that it's in Newark, New Jersey.
Of course.
Yeah. It's absolutely great. And of course, we've got the great fucking Jeffrey Tambor back for the first time in I don't know how long. And he's Jeffrey Tambor, the kind of snooty, dismissive, kind of asshole-ish, kind of person that he always plays, playing it up to the max here in a Del Toro film. That's just such a great piece of casting, like to pull this guy of all people and put him in this, pretty much A-list movie. It absolutely works. And I feel that, this guy is one of those guys, he never got his due. He could have been a lot more than he was in Hollywood.
Man. By the time he got to playing Bluth in that one show, I think everyone loved the hell out of him. He was.
What was this?
Arrested Development.
Arrested Development.
I never saw Arrested Development.
Didn't Tambor win an Oscar too? I could have sworn he did, or is at least nominated for one.
Was that for the Transparent show?
I think so.
Yeah.
Where he played someone going through transition or something like that. I think so.
Yeah, I think he quietly kicked a lot of ass. He did a great arc in Entourage.
Okay, so apparently you guys have been keeping up with Jeffrey Tambor. Because as far as I'm concerned, I hadn't seen him since The Ropers.
He's
well, that's okay. If somebody knows, then that's good. I'm happy about that he's been fucking, steady on with the work.
Yes.
You've also got the introduction of these other characters that they don't spend a great deal of time introducing. You've got Myers, the new fucking like Hellboy liaison, and then you've got Doug Jones as Abe Sapien, who I just think is a great character.
Yep. David Hyde Pierce is his voice.
Yes.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, and in this one, it's actually Doug Jones as the voice in the second one, but it's David Hyde Pierce in this one.
The second one's a fucking weird one.
I like the second one a lot. It's a lot of fun.
I have to watch it again sometime soon.
I remember seeing it once, and it wasn't bad, it wasn't great, it just was sort of there and went away.
Well, in that movie, I kind of, in this movie, I counted on the villains. I love the villains.
Mm-hmm.
These occult Nazi, evil just bastards. Like there's that one scene where Koronin is just sitting in the castle in Moscow, listening to music, being evil. He's just, I'm just sitting here being evil, listening to some classical, opera, this sort of thing. I was like, I fucking love that. That's just great.
Yeah. If there's one character that's like weak sauce in the whole thing, it's Meyer. He feels like he's just there just to sort of move everything else along and sort of cue everyone else in doing the awesome stuff that they're supposed to do, where he is just sort of like confused kid wandering around going, oh, look, a mermaid. Oh, look, a demon. Oh, look, Rasputin.
Yeah.
Look,
if you had pulled him out of there, the story would have moved along just fine.
Right.
The story would have moved along just fine. But okay, they put him in there. He's not awful.
No, it's not. It's not to say that he's a bad character. I'm just saying he's sort of like just the guy that's there to push everything else along. That was his function, which I don't know if Del Toro does that a lot. I had never noticed that, but in this movie, it's sort of like, well, here comes Meyer. What's going to happen next?
Well, it was also to create tension with Hellboy and Liz too. So that's basically, I think, all of his purpose was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's that too. He sort of forces Hellboy's hand in pushing his own intentions forward with Liz.
Right. But it creates some of my favorite Hellboy scenes. Jumping ahead, I love when he's on the roof watching them talking to the kid.
Yeah.
He's throwing the rocks. Yeah. You know what I mean?
What do you know about it? You're 9. Are you gonna eat that? He's got that last cut. You're gonna eat that? No. Yeah. All right, go ahead. And then, of course, we meet the title character. I mean, like I said, from Kronos to this, Blade 2. He's one of my favorite characters. Hannibal Chow in Pacific Rim. He is a constant in the Del Toro fucking go-to list. And
I'll go all the way back to Quest for Fire with Perlman when I was a little kid. He has been a genre fixture. He's one of those faces that you see everywhere. And for having read the comic book before I saw the movie, seeing Perlman as Hellboy, it was like the comic character just came to life and came onto the screen. There was no doubting. I bought in the second I saw him as Hellboy.
And he's still working with Del Toro. I checked just to make sure he does a voice in Pinocchio as well. And the description is Ron Perlman as Podesta, a strict fascist government official who turns Pinocchio into a soldier. That's all it says. So he's still working with Del Toro to this day.
He can give you either great leading man stuff or he can give you just great character work.
Yeah.
Because I remember him in, I'm sure Eric knows what I'm talking about, in the Dirty Laundry short film. The Punisher short film, Dirty Laundry with Thomas Jane. He was the wheelchair vet. And he's just in it for like 3 minutes. Yep. And just like, fuck, man, that's Ron Perlman.
I grew up watching him. My mom was a sucker for that TV show Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, my mom watched it too. I never did, but my mom did, yeah.
But he was the Beast,
Yeah.
You see what Ron Perlman looked like. They didn't need much makeup to make him look like, the Beast. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Same thing.
I
liked him from Enemy at the Gates, that war movie.
He's the Russian. Yeah, who had all his teeth pulled by fucking Stalin.
Metal teeth.
Yeah, his old people pulled all his teeth out. Yeah, okay. He was also in a freaky fucking French film called The City of Lost Children.
Oh,
yeah. Great fucking stuff. Guys, give me 1 second. Carry on for a little bit. Just talk about Perlman for a second. I got to step off. I got to answer this text.
Yeah, I'm still looking. I mean, of course, obviously, he's known for Sons of Anarchy and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
But this guy he's done it. Even Alien Resurrection, you know what I mean? It's not the best movie, but he's still a memorable character.
Yep.
And then he's done everything from that to like, goofy Stephen King movies like Sleepwalkers, or he was also in that Disney movie, the Huckleberry Finn, where he was Pa. He got drunk and beat the shit out of Elijah Wood. You know what I mean? So this
And
guy,
he's not necessarily tied down to, makeup and genre, because he popped in on Mark Maron's TV show, just playing a Vietnam vet, playing it straight, and it was fantastic as well.
yeah, he's done everything. And now that Mike's back, I can remind him that he was also the sayer of the law in The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
The goat guy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. He was in one of those, and I hate to bring up his name because he irritates the shit out of me nowadays. Carpenters, that Masters of Horror series that was on Showtime.
Yeah.
And he plays this parent whose child has gone into an abortion clinic. And he wants his daughter to get the fuck out of there, and they won't let him in. They stopped him at the fence because he's like some crazy. They portray him as like this crazy veteran guy, and he's gonna go in there and shoot everybody. But yeah, it turns into a whole other thing because it's a Carpenter story, and he's really good at that. He's good at playing menacing characters.
Yeah,
he's good. He's Sons of Anarchy. Where
just
he was the leader of the.
Yeah, he's just intimidating to look at, even when he's in a happy mood. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, we get down to the call. They get the first call, and we get the first action scene at the museum, and we get our first look at the Samael character. The Hellhound. It's an impressive-looking monster.
Yeah. Well, it's got tentacles, so you can't complain. Anything with tentacles.
Yeah. Well, it's got this slimy kind of thing going on. It's kind of big. That
one big claw too. It's impressive. It almost reminded me of the Cloverfield monster.
A little bit.
Running and walking and interacting.
Yeah, it's got some of that going on. What did you think of that scene? It was a pretty good fight scene. The action in this movie isn't the highlight of it for me.
It was very Ghostbuster-ish, because they're kind of going to the library and they're sort of sneaking in, and we don't know what's going to happen. But I love the fact that they go rolling in a garbage truck with a Jersey license plate on it. That was just.
To me, I mean, the action is fun, but even though this is a comic book movie, to me, it doesn't rely upon the action to make it a good movie. It's because of these characters that I'm enthralled. Like I mentioned, one of my favorite scenes is when he's watching them on the roof. You know what I mean? There's no action at all, and it's the look of it, and the action is just fun stuff. But it's the characters that make this a good movie.
Heck yeah. The action is like the cherry on top of the sundae. Because this is a great, well-written movie with characters, and maybe a little bit cliche here and there, but it's still a fantastic story. And then you've got this action piece happening, and you got these weird characters, these weird villains popping up and killing people, which is all good as well. So it's like a nice balance between character-driven story, dialogue, and you got this great CGI effects.
I mean, it has that Del Toro kind of darkness in it. The action scenes, for the most part, do not.
No?
I don't know. It's hard to put my finger on it.
Well, what are you looking for when you see it? What are you looking for it to be when you watch it?
Maybe a little more menace, or something a little scarier, but it's not that kind of movie. And so maybe that's just, what I would prefer. It doesn't make it any less good. It just, not necessarily meeting my expectations. Because, I'm always in it, I want it to be serious. More serious lines.
It's still a comic book movie, and they're still going to put the comedy in it. Like the train driver in that first battle. It's hilarious. So there's fights, they're serious, but there's also all that comedy.
We should also bear in mind that the tone of comic book movies from 2004 is not what it got to be about 10 years later.
Right.
Where things did start, when you start to get into the Nolan side of things, or the Snyder side of things, or maybe some of the darker things that happened, like with the Russo brothers and Marvel. We weren't at this point yet. We were still at those Fantastic Four movies, which I love. I love those Fantastic Four movies. I think they're just for what they are. They're fun.
Yeah, they're
I
fine.
like the guy. I like Michael Chiklis as
he's
Ben
always great.
Grimm.
Yes.
You know, that sort of thing. Yeah, Jessica Alba. You know, there is Sue Storm. You know, what's wrong with that?
Chris Evans was fun as Johnny Storm.
That's right. He's a perfect example of interesting recasting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because he was kind of the comic relief, and then he goes on to become
Captain America.
Superman. So if you look at this compared to like the Dark Knight, it's just not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or BVS or the Wit Falcon or the Wit Captain America, the Winter Soldier, or Infinity War or something like that. We just weren't at that point in comic books yet. Yeah. It would have been curious to see what this would have been like 10 years if it had been made 10 years later.
I keep saying this is one of the best MCU movies that has nothing to do with Marvel and is not in the MCU universe. It's a Dark Horse comic.
I was going to say,
and I think it really captured it well. Go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say, what was it? Was this Image or was this Dark Horse or
Dark Horse?
Dark Horse, okay. Because all I remember from Dark Horse is, you know, when they made those movie tie-in comics, you know, they always had the Aliens and the Predator comics and stuff like that. Okay, this is Dark Horse.
Yeah, I got into Dark Horse because they were doing the best Star Wars stuff for years, where there was no Star Wars anywhere if you weren't reading the books. But then you had the comic series on Dark Horse. It was just unbelievably good.
I think Dark Horse was also doing the Hellblazers, weren't they? The Constantines. And those were some serious dark fucking horror. Like, people talk about Keanu Reeves' Constantine, but the real Constantine, actually, and most accurate, was that one season that they gave us with Matt Smith.
Yes.
Okay.
Matt Ryan? Was it Matt Ryan? I think it's Matt Ryan. And that was serious, demonic. It was a horror series. It was essentially a horror series with, you know, very little humor. But yeah, Dark Horse actually gave us, you know, different, and those other Vertigo and, you know, all these other different, you know, offshoots outside of the main two veins. Gave a lot of good work. The
other comic movie that was kind of the same era, like this pre Nolan and Snyder era, was Spawn. And Spawn, in tone, reminds me of Hellboy. It's in that similar vein.
Yeah, of hell and, you know, demons and, you know, these sorts of things. Yeah.
But serious, but not too serious. You know, it's still retaining the comic book qualities and real good.
The casting could have been better. The casting could have been a little bit better. But yeah.
Okay.
That's where we were in the 90s.
I don't think they had enough money to spend back then on the car.
Yeah, for A-list. No one would have taken it seriously.
I think
they
casting-wise, they spent most of their budget getting Martin Sheen to do Spawn. I think that's
who could have that could have been anybody. At that time, I think we were also having the Schumacher disasters with Batman. You know, so yeah, we had Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze, and you're like, what the fuck? Like at that point, that was sort of on the decline of Schwarzenegger's. You know, Schwarzenegger was kind of on the way out. You know, that sort of thing, and he would soon be entering politics.
Yeah, you thought that movie was going to kill comic book movies forever. It was so bad and so badly accepted and taken. I mean, what's his name? I don't even want to say. I didn't want to say the name. But yeah, you thought he killed comic books forever with that.
Man, you know,
he got driven into like this underground. Thank God for the independent films, because Spawn is like an independent film. This one is also almost like an independent film instead of a big budget tentpole.
Well, Eric and I were just talking about that where we were having a little Facebook back and forth, and I was saying, do you remember back in the day when like Schumacher and Clooney, they ruined it? Well, they ruined the movies, but they apologized. Yeah, like, look, we're sorry. We were shooting for something. Go ahead, Eric.
Well, I was gonna say George Clooney. He's always been a jokester. Everything is tongue in cheek with him. So every time he always says, you know that killed his career, that killed Hollywood, this and that. And even Joel Schumacher, I give credit where credit's due. I have the Blu-rays of all four films, and if the Blu-ray starts with him apologizing. I mean, you know what I mean? He knows his reputation. He's accepted it. You know, it is what it is. And you got to think about it, too. It's not just Clooney's fault. it's not just Schumacher's fault. They didn't write the fucking thing, for most of it. There was studio involvement. There's so many hands in the pots. And at that time, those movies were being made for toys, not for people to go see in the theater. There was a big difference. Yeah, big difference.
And, nowadays, if you write a piece of shit, it's the fans' fault if they don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
You're a racist, you're a misogynist, you're a fucking, whatever. As opposed to saying, look, we were shooting for something and we fell short. Sorry. Either we're going to give it up and let somebody else take it over down the road, or, we're going to try again later. We fucked up. My bad. Like, people appreciate that.
Wasn't my fault.
Huh?
I said, thank God Mr. Freeze wasn't my fault. I'll take the blame for Rings of Power any day, but I didn't ruin Batman. Phew.
And that fucking Bane and Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
that was my main problem is, I can handle Batman and Robin now because to me it feels like the campy 60s stuff with Adam West. Yeah, but what really pissed me off was they made Bane just this big dumb brute. When if you know Bane, he is this super smart, intelligent. Yeah. He's the guy that was able to infiltrate Wayne Manor, break Bruce Wayne's back, put him out of business type of stuff, and now he's just this big dumb wrestler. You know what I mean? So
I mean, it's just a different time in comic movies. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like I said, for 2004, this is ahead of what Raimi was doing with Spider-Man 2, and I love Spider-Man 2. Dr. Octopus and J.K. Simmons and all those, Tobey Maguire, and you got Kirsten Dunst. No problem. No, I got it right back here. Not a problem. But this was different. Now we also get back into the Liz character, played by Selma Blair, who is staying at a psychiatric hospital.
I just love the way the flames
checked herself in. Yeah, Selma Blair's just awesome. I'm a big fan. She does a great job in this as the love interest.
She was even good in Fog, man. She's great.
Yeah, she's not a problem. And you start to see like the vulnerabilities with Hellboy here, because this is his weak spot, and he can't quite get out what he wants to say, but it's obvious to them both, and she's not really saying it either. And it's like this. There's this big space between them. It's like an elephant in the room that they kind of don't get into.
Yeah.
And she's checked herself in and out of hospitals her whole life. You get very quickly into the backstory, where she got picked on by some kids. They threw rocks at her.
Yep.
And like split her head open, and she just fucking roasted them, which I thought they had coming actually.
Yep.
If you throw rocks and you're trying to kill somebody, then hey, fuck you. But
it's a very super serious, realistic relationship trope, and it's surrounded by a guy who files off his horns and a girl who shoots fire out of her hands. It's the combination of those two things is just magnificent. The best scene when he's trying to write her this note, and there's a 1,000 crumpled up notes on the floor, and she walks in and sees it. It was fantastic.
And he tries to kick like two pieces of paper behind him, that, and the other. What's a really strong word for need?
Yeah.
Well, need's a pretty strong word. No, it's too needy.
And you got the perfect picture up right here because it shows Perlman acting through the makeup. You know what I mean? You can see just in that shot right there, the pain, the want, the need that he has for Liz. And that shows like Perlman isn't just this big, mean brute, that he always was, this asshole. He can act. And right there, you have to act through. He's wearing, I think it said like 6 to 8 hours worth of makeup a day. And he has to act through it instead of just, beating up CGI monsters. And, you got to give major props to him for that too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's great stuff. Great stuff. He's not, she's not ready to come back. I think she said she's left that organization 13 times and she always comes back because there's no other place for her to go.
Right.
But I guess she has been losing control of it for this, that, or the other. And so she's checked herself into the hospital. where she's living in, relative solitude, but, in relative peace. And I guess these battles just exacerbate, this lack of control that she, unfortunately is struggling with. So, that brings us back to, they send them back into the subway again. And of course, Rasputin, brings back he ends up waking her up again. Or that thing inside of her. And it just turns into a huge shit show down there in the basement.
Well,
and
that thing laid eggs inside of Hellboy, and they're like, "Holy crap! There's got to be millions of eggs."
Yeah, he's the resurrection. And there's just that one fucking scene where, that one agent is running away because there's only one guy with a really big gun. And then, he gets taken out right away before he can fire off the weapon. And then, the other guy is running and he almost makes it to the subway and that thing just pounces like right on his fucking head. And it's just fucking awful to watch. And that whole fucking team down there ends up getting wiped out. I think Abe almost gets fucked up.
Yep.
It's a fucked up scene. Not much you can do about it, but Del Toro really isn't pulling too many punches here. So, the team kind of gets fucked up and what's her name ends up coming back inside, and I think that's where Ryan gets it. Oh no, not Ryan. What's his name? Who's the guy who's getting the hair plugs?
I forget his name. The original agent, his liaison.
Yeah, his original liaison. And that's just such a great fucking scene because there's like the sub thing where he's getting these plugs and he's like, you can't see these. And you can see like the wires, like right there on the top. I'm thinking about getting it myself. He's just trying to be nice to him. I'm thinking about doing it myself. But that's where we start to get into the Kronig theme, where he actually fucking fakes his own death to infiltrate the house. And this was actually one of my favorite characters. It might have been my favorite character. Because he's just so goddamn evil looking. And he's got those like sword, tonfas attached to him. And he's got no blood. It's just full of dust.
He's got to wind
himself up. He's got no eyelids. Yeah, he's got no eyelids. And he's got no fucking lips. And he's got those fucked up scars all over him. And you're just like, what the fuck?
I love the steampunk thing where he's sort of like a wind-up doll.
Yep.
He's like almost like like mechanical driven. It's not magic. It's not super technology. We put him together in 1929.
Yeah, he's just really, really cool. He's everyone loves like that silent assassin type because to my knowledge, he doesn't say a fucking word through the whole movie. It's all just action. And like I said, when he has those blades coming, or like Mike said, when he has those blades, it just basically unsheath. Shit's on, and it's just really cool. He does it all without saying a word.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just fucked up looking.
Yep.
Look at that fucking guy. Jesus Christ. So that brings us to the rooftop scene. And I guess one of the later comic scenes, in the movie, where he's got a 9-year-old trying to talk him through his love life.
Exactly.
So it works out that way. But actually, while that's happening, John Hurt is being killed.
Yeah.
Which is actually more to the point of the story. And I just thought that was, well, what did you think?
It's pivotal, man. They're upping the stakes for this character where he's got everything falling apart. He can't make anything happen with his girl. His father is dead, and he's got this crazy Rasputin sending, Lovecraftian monsters into the subway. He's got a lot on his mind, and he's supposed to be just out of teenage years. So that he's still if you're following the character, this is not some ancient monster. This is a 20-year-old kid trying to work all this out, and there's all this pressure on him now to make decisions, which sets up what's going to happen later, where he almost makes the wrong life choice.
That's a good point too, because a lot of people forget he's so young because he's so big and because it's Ron playing him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't they explain that at some point? It's almost like reverse dog years.
Yeah, he ages slower than everybody, so he's barely like a 20-year-old at this point.
Yeah. So I mean, John Hurt ends up dying, and the next thing you know, they're in Moscow because they want to draw him in. Rasputin wants to draw. All this is just to lure him in. Killing all these people is just fucking incidental.
Yep.
You know, it all serves the larger purpose of drawing Hellboy in because of what they want from him. But I thought one of the coolest scenes is when they get to the graveyard and he resurrects that fucking corpse.
Hell yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Was it Ivan Kliminovich or something like that? Ivan Kliminovich, and he just resurrects him to use as a fucking like tour guide. Through the graveyard. And this is where I thought the real strengths of the movie came through, because the set designs now at this point and the underground scenes and everything just become absolutely gorgeous.
Yep.
You know, before we had seen, you know, things that were basically going on in Newark. You know, you had a subway, you had rooftops, you know, inside the sets of the BPRD. You know, you did have the second fight with the cats, you know, and this sort of thing. But here I thought was where Del Toro really showed his strengths in setting up his vision.
Oh, and I loved it. I love, like, you just had that still up. It's the red Hellboy, and you got the brown rotting corpse on his shoulder, and you got this pretty white snowy scenery behind him. You know what I mean? So it's this weird off-putting thing going on in this really pretty scenery. Like I mentioned it, like, you know, as a stretch, like Exorcist 3, you know, you have all these crime, you have the crime in the hospital, but it's all nice and clean and crisp, and you have like this giant, basically walking devil, a talking corpse, but you have this beautiful snowy scenery in a graveyard.
I agree.
Yeah.
The cinematography is outstanding, man. Outstanding.
Yeah, the strengths of this movie are not the strengths of the stereotypical comic book film.
Right.
They play completely differently here, and it's a fucking hit. I mean, I'm trying to get this one fucking shot of this scene where they first enter where they enter Rasputin's mausoleum, because that's where they have to go, and it's gorgeous with all the spikes, and I'm trying to get this shot right here. Hold on a second, if I can get it to pause. And it's beautiful to behold, and then it just increasingly becomes more and more intricate. Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, here it is. Here, it's a quick shot, and then they stream out to something else. But I mean, look at that design.
Yeah,
it just looks menacing, but it's beautiful and sort of mesmerizing at the same time. And you're just like, holy shit, man! I mean, like no other movies were doing anything like this. To be honest, I didn't see Sky Captain. That was the one with Gwyneth Paltrow, wasn't it? And Jude Law.
So. Yeah.
Okay. Was that similar in this way or anything like that? Or that was another steampunk movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that one was I don't know. It was not as beautiful as this. It's hard to describe. It was sort of monolithic in what it presented, this sort of 1920s, 30s Art Deco thing, where this movie goes from different scene to different scene to different scene. It's never the same.
Yeah,
this movie reminds me of like a Tim Burton movie. The set design and just the detail it goes into
I could see that.
Creating an exact world that is not our own. I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And everything is gears in this one. Going back to the steampunk thing with the assassin, everything is gears.
There's a lot of that in the second one too. Gears.
I want to know what is up with the eyes though. Like Del Toro seems to do a lot with eyes, and in this one, Rasputin has these big glass eyes that gets shoves into his face, and it seems to be like a focal point. I'm not sure what he's trying to say in all these movies when he gets focused on eyes.
Yeah, that'd be an. Well, let's call him up and see if we. It's funny. I was watching this stream the other day because today actually because Nerdrotic, Critical Drinker was on it, and then all of a sudden it like 4 people were in the stream and in the panel. Critical Drinker was one of them. It wasn't his show. He just happened to be a guest, and they were talking about Picard 3, season 3, which is fucking phenomenal if you're not watching it. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's fucking phenomenal. But they were talking about how great it was, like they can't believe it either. But then all of a sudden, like Robert Meyer Burnett showed up, and then like Nerdrotic showed up. Like they just show up in the comments, and this guy just keeps inviting everybody in. And then the actual writer from Picard season 3 showed up in the stream in the comments. So then they invited him in. So all of a sudden, this thing with 4 people turned into 10 people.
Nice.
With just this enormous fun. And people in the chat were like freaking out, like, holy shit, I can't believe what, this fucking panel is here. And so just once in a lifetime kind of thing. But unfortunately, I can't call up GDT and, get him here in the stream. Maybe next week. Right. We'll have to do another Del Toro movie, and I'll ask him if he can stop in. So, I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. Just beautiful, intricate set designs, cinematography. I guess a combination of practical and CGI. But it just completely fucking holds up. You also have that funny little power struggle between him and Jeffrey Tambor.
Oh yeah.
Before the shit starts to go down, and then there's just no arguing anymore because Jeffrey Tambor can't do much of anything when push comes to shove. And then you just got what's his name? Conan just sitting there in this fucking in that room, just being fucking evil. And I just love that fucking scene where he's just sitting there listening to fucking music.
Music, yep.
Yeah, just sitting there listening to music. Hold on a second.
Yeah, you can't be killing people all the time. You got to relax somehow.
I suppose so. I suppose so. I suppose that's true. But I mean, one of the great scenes about that was Jeffrey Tambor's reaction to Cronin slashing at him. He's like, "Hey, what's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you?" Again, more well-deserved, well-earned comedy.
Yeah. You can tell he's definitely, once all is said and done, he's like, this shit's way over my pay grade.
But it's just such a weird fucking response. Like what it's like some 100-year-old Nazi is like slashing at you with this big fucking blade that he's been killed. Hey, what's wrong with you? Like when he's trying to get through to him or something like that. But I mean, here, we start to have some satisfying deaths. And again, just very beautiful set designs here in the room. Again, like Bill said, more cogs and wheels.
Yep.
Going on here. But I mean, that he ends up dropping Hellboy into that pit.
Yep.
Which is just, you're like, damn, that's fucked up. And, all those spikes start coming up and everything like that. And you're just like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Great scene.
It's a fucking mess. I mean, it's like the punji stick pit from hell. And he ends up saving him through that. And then, Cronin goes through there and they have their little moment of, reconciliation here where they kind of get together at the end.
Great scene setting up the fact that he's becoming the next father figure, which I didn't see coming when I first saw it. And then all of a sudden,
is he the father figure in the second one? I mean, is he in the second one? I don't remember.
I think it's been a while. I think he is. I don't think his role is as big as it is in this one because it's mainly them getting a a group together, and like there's more it's more away from like humans in this. There's almost no human interaction. It's them fighting elves and shit in this mystical world, and they have a new member of the team who's basically a ghost living in a steampunk body voiced by Seth MacFarlane.
And that's the new like babysitter.
Yeah. I remember being a little bit disappointed in I was waiting for this movie so I could see more timbre, so I could see more of the young agent and sort of see them progressing. And it wasn't really like that. They went for something different, which I wasn't expecting. Not bad, just something that I didn't get what I want. So I was pouty.
Yeah, same here. But, you know, has Del Toro ever done 2 of the same movie? I mean, you know, like a franchise or anything like that? No, I'm looking at here. There's nothing in there. I mean, he had nothing to do with that second Pacific Rim movie. Holy shit, what a piece of shit that was.
Right.
You know, so he's just kind of a one and done kind of guy.
Pretty much.
I think he has a love for Hellboy, though.
Yeah, because he wanted to do a third one. It's just he had so much on his plate.
Yeah.
I just pray at some point, you know, because he's a little on the big side. And I'm praying if he does that he, you know, won't have some sort of heart attack or something like that. You know, I could just hear about that. He's having a massive heart attack and just, you know, sort of expiring. I pray that we get that H.P. Lovecraft out of him. Because I showed you those tests.
Yep.
The test footage. Bill, did you ever see that?
No.
That he did from Lovecraft. I'll see if I can pull it up in a little bit. But, I mean, at this point, we're coming to the end of the movie. And, you know, we've got the stocks from hell.
How'd they know they'd need a stocks like that? And how'd they age it so well?
Yeah, because you see how there's like the different size. You have the regular size for the head, the regular size for his left hand, but the one on the right is twice the size because you got to be able to fix that rock hand in there.
But it still looks like it was built in like 1810.
It's a hell of a thing. Here it gets a little. I don't know. I found some of this towards the end a little disappointing. We're not quite at the disappointment yet. We get, huh?
How come? What is it?
Let me go through it here. We get to, you know, the part where he gets kind of compromised through Liz. And he agrees to open the portal, I guess in exchange for Liz's soul, because Rasputin steals Liz's soul.
Right.
And in exchange for opening the gate to the next dimension and to let the, you know, the kind of Lovecraft monsters through, you know, he agrees to do that. But I don't know. I kind of got the impression that, you know, Rasputin would not have held up his end of the bargain.
Yeah. Oh, look out.
I better not do that.
Yeah, be careful.
Okay. I don't want to lose the I don't want to lose the channel.
You're a naughty boy.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I don't know, he opens the gate and just like that, I mean, he kind of blows the gate up. And you know, that's kind of the end of it.
Yeah, pretty much.
He decides to break off his horns, and that leads to the final conflict, I guess, with the monster that's inside Rasputin. I guess that's animating his body and giving him life.
Yeah,
and
that part does go really quick compared to having all those chase scenes with Samael.
That's true. Yeah.
I was kind of disappointed by that because it's over. Like this final monster that's supposed to be like the big Lovecraftian, you know, thing that you're actually going to get a full look at. You know, it's over with in like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
it's very short.
Yeah, it's very brief, and I don't know if there were, you know, sort of, you know, budgetary concerns or whatever, but.
Well, this is what, 2 hours 15. I mean, how much longer could they go on? He had to make some choices there, and I think that rushing the ending is better than rushing the buildup.
This movie, I think through HBO is 2 hours. 2 hours and 2 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, because there's a director's
I
cut.
have the director's cut.
Yep.
It's about 250. It's about 215. But I'll be honest with you, I couldn't tell what was additional. It's one of those director's cuts, so it must be some extra intros and outros, that kind of thing. There's really not any sort of organic material that comes through. But we get a look at the monster. I was a little disappointed, to be honest. And then it's just kind of over. We do have the final scene at the end with Selma Blair, which I did enjoy.
Yep.
He sort of cajoles whoever it is that's holding Selma Blair to, let her go, that sort of thing. And then the movie just kind of ends. And that's pretty much it. It's not a terrible movie. Far from a terrible movie, but I'm not sure how I felt about the ending. It just kind of ends.
The fiery.
I've seen strong. I guess what I'm trying to say, I've seen stronger endings in Del Toro movies. At least for this, but I mean, it's 20 years ago. He isn't exactly where he is right now, or even where he would have been 10 years after this.
He is also bound by the source material too.
Is this from a Del Toro Hellboy comic?
Well, the relationship between the two is sort of set in stone a little bit. So he's got to work with the source material. It's not like he can craft his own thing. I think you're right, Eric. I think looking at that monster again, I think it might have been just CGI constraints where the company is like, buddy, we can't spend another $35,000 on CGI.
35 a second, probably back then.
Right.
Yeah, no kidding.
So hold on a second. That's interesting. Let me see what the budget for this was. Let me pull it up on the numbers. Hellboy. I'm sure this was profitable.
Well, it had to if you made the sequel, and then they even did like an animated movie. They got all the voice actors back. The animated movie takes place between the two films. I mean, I've never seen it. I think it's only like an hour long, but the fact that and I think that made decent sales on home video too. So, Hellboy's he does have a big following.
So it made, let's see, hold on a second. It made domestic box office totals 21 million. That's it.
Oh, wow.
No, this is Hellboy from 2019.
Yeah, that one didn't fare too well.
No, unfortunately, that's a shame. It didn't get a fair shake.
What was the budget, though? Do you have the budget?
Hold on. I'm having trouble finding Hellboy.
Yeah, I can.
And the numbers, for some reason, I'm only pulling up 2019.
Huh,
maybe they don't go. Maybe they don't go that far back.
Hold on.
I'm looking. Oh, here we go. Budget $66 million.
Ooh.
Gross in U.S. and Canada was $59 million.
Yeah, Hellboy. I got a box office of $99.8 million.
Yep.
For 2004.
Opening weekend.
What was the budget?
Budget was, it says, the budget says $66 million. So this
barely broke even after marketing.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, worldwide, it eventually made its money back, but it wasn't setting the world on fire. That's for sure.
It wasn't Spider-Man 2.
Right.
It wasn't Spider-Man.
And then the 2000.
Checker sells more than chess.
It was not Vincent Chase's Aquaman by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
Yeah, and then the 2019 budget of $50 million only made 55.1. So.
What the first one, the 2019?
Yeah, the remake.
That's a shame.
Yeah,
that's a shame. That was a pretty good movie.
I thought it was really good.
I thought it was a Hellboy movie.
Mm-hmm. It had the feel to it. It had the goofy characters. It looked great.
Yeah,
but Hellboy
explain the weird choices in the Golden Army, because
Hellboy 2: The Golden Army was a bigger hit, though. It says 82 to 85 million for a budget, and it made 168.3.
Right. That's what I mean. I think the suits might have stepped in and said, enough of your artsy fartsy crap. Give us some good battles and make the kids happy.
Mm-hmm.
Were you here? You weren't here for The Exorcist 3, were you?
No, I was on my couch.
We watched
bronchitis, yeah.
We talked about how that was production hell and how WB just stepped all over it.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the documentaries, they had these fucking suits. Like, because you had all the creatives. You had Blatty, because there are 2 documentaries in it.
Mr. Blatty.
Yeah. And you had the, Blatty, and then you had George C. Scott talking, and then you had Jason Miller talking, and then you had Dorff talking, and you had Dorff talking in 1990, and then you had Dorff talking today, like a retrospect. But you also then later on had these fucking WB suits about how Blatty didn't understand how the system worked. And, you couldn't just let him do what he wanted to do. Why would you let Blatty have full control over The Exorcist? That makes no fucking sense. Tools.
Yeah.
These fucking suits, man. Get on your fucking nerves. So, I mean, that kind of brings it to the end.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. I'll bring up that Del Toro Mountains of Madness if you want to see it. All right, here we go. Because, I mean, this is what I hope we get from him one day. And this has no audio, but it's just 25 seconds of the... Oh, wait, it does have a little audio.
Oh. Right?
Look at that.
And you said that he didn't want to do it because it was too much like Prometheus or something like that?
His sets.
No, the sound effects.
Damn. So, I mean, maybe one day we'll get that. And
reminded me of Mimic a little bit.
Little bit. But I mean, he was all set for that. He's set for The Hobbit. I still would like to find out what happened with him in The Hobbit. That would have been something. That would have been nice. That would have been good.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we'll see what he's got next coming up. So, is there any part of the film that you wanted to address that we didn't get to?
No. I fanboyed all over this. I'm exhausted.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, I guess for now, hold on a second. Just talk amongst yourselves for a second. I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, have you ever seen the animated or... Bill, or did you ever see the remake with David Harbour?
I did see the remake. I didn't think much of it bad or good. I just saw it. It was a thing. I never saw the animated one, which I'm interested in going back and seeing now if it pops up on HBO Max.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. And like I said, I think you guys should probably give the sequel another viewing because
yeah, definitely.
I mean, as much as I really enjoy this one, I don't know if I would say Part 2 is a better film, but I think there's more action to it. It's a lot more fun. I like the characters a little bit more because there's more Abe in it, which was a plus to me, and that's what I like. We got a lot more characters, and even though I detest like Seth MacFarlane with a passion, I cannot stand him. His character was fun, so I think that says something too.
Well, I'm interested in watching it again. I haven't easily haven't seen it in 15 years, so it's worth watching again, just because I love it so much. I love the character Hellboy, and I wish there was even more. I wish it was more Del Toro.
Well, they're remaking it again. I know that they just announced it. They announced who's playing him.
Oh yeah, I don't know who that is.
Let's see here, Hellboy. Like I said, I know the character, the actor, whoever it is. The only thing I knew him from, Jack Kesy, Kesy. It says he was in Deadpool 2. He plays Black Tom Cassidy.
Okay.
Very briefly, he's like in the prison scenes.
All right. I just hope this newest Hellboy does not bend itself to modern audiences.
Imagine that.
It says Deadpool 2, 12 Strong, and Baywatch. But he was also in The Strain, that TV show, The Strain.
Oh yeah, I have all those on DVD. That was another we always forget about that. Del Toro had a 4-season vampire apocalypse series right there on FX, and it was pretty fucking good. It was pretty fucking good. All right, so I think we've come to the part in the stream where we rate the movie. This channel has a system. We rate the movie from 0 to 5. 0 and goes by halves. 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. So 0 being I'd rather never use toilet paper again for the rest of my life than watch this movie. 5 being, this is the destination. This is cinema. This is why I talk about movies in the first place. Billboard. Where would you rate 2004's Hellboy?
I really wish I could give it more, but it's not cinema. But it is really, really good. So I would give it a solid 4. If I could give it a 4 1/4, I would, but we don't play like that. So I'm going to give it a 4. Fantastic, fun movie. I loved watching it again. I remember seeing it in the movie theaters and just loving it. I love Perlman. I love Selma Blair. I love everything about it. The detail, the cinematography. It is a fantastic movie, but it is at its core a comic book movie. It's very genre based, and it is elevated. The performances are fantastic, like you said, Eric. Acting through the costume and the makeup, absolutely, it was there. But I cannot go as far as to give it a 5. But it's a solid 4, and I cannot recommend it highly enough for a fun, wacky Nazis and crazy outer space creature movie.
Okay. Eric, what do you got for us? 2004's Hellboy, directed by Guillermo Del Toro.
I'm going to agree with Bill. I'm going to give it a solid 4. The performances, the characters, they got great chemistry with each other. That's another thing. You have that little bit of comedy sprinkled here and there with Jeffrey Tambor, or we keep going to the rooftop scene. Some of it. The special effects overall, I think, are really good. The practical effects are top notch. And like we said, it's a fun comic book movie. You know what I mean? But it looks beautiful. You got the perfect mixture of beautiful and the dark stuff. The only thing that I'm knocking it for, honestly, I mean, I have the director's cut. I think maybe the theatrical cut would have been better. You can chop off 15 minutes of this at least, maybe a little bit more. And honestly, I wish just because he looks so fucking cool, I wish there was more Abe Sapien in it, which is why I do prefer the sequel, because he's in it more. But I mean, that's just personal preference. But definitely solid 4. Highly recommend it for anyone. You don't have to know anything about the lore, the characters to really enjoy this film. Because remember, like I said in the beginning, when I saw the trailer, I had no idea who the hell this guy was or any of these characters. I didn't know what it was, and I rented it on a whim, and it was fantastic.
All right, so 4. I'm going to give it a 4 as well.
Okay.
You're right. It's not cinema, but it is high level entertainment.
Yes.
4.5 to 5 is the difference between this and Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Pan's Labyrinth is a 5.
Okay.
That's an easy 5 because you've just got such a fucking story, and on top of that, just these tremendous effects, and parallel stories. You've got 2 separate stories. You got the fascist story, and then you've got the sort of paranormal story, with Pan and the Ophelia and that sort of thing. Here, you've got, I guess, what you call, Eric, a very fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Perlman, you've got John Hurt, you've got Selma Blair, you got Jeffrey Tambor, you got comedy, you got really simplistic parts that can somehow become somewhat complex, but not overly complex, because it ain't like that. It ain't that complex. The ending, again, for me, is a little brief, and I was disappointed by the final battle. Because if you're going to have, these Lovecraft style monsters, these sorts of things, I would have liked to have seen a bit more.
That's fair.
But that maybe that's the limitations for whatever reason. Those were the limitations of of the film. But yeah, I mean, I own it on Blu-ray. I own the director's cut on Blu-ray. I own the Golden Army on Blu-ray. I own the 2019 version on Blu-ray. So I'm not knocking the film. I'd give it a solid 4. I told everybody at the beginning of the stream this is available on HBO Max right now. So I think if you haven't seen it, you should. It holds up much better than anything that I've seen in Phase 4 for Marvel. So if you're disappointed by what Marvel has been doing since 2019 or whatever, the past 4 years, and you haven't seen this, watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Watch it, especially when you consider what they were doing in 2004 with comic book movies. Yeah, this was very much ahead of its time.
Yes,
it's a good film.
Plus, we got little Hellboy too, and that's always a plus. That little monkey guy.
Yeah. Look at the size of that monkey.
Yes.
Yeah. With his baby Ruth. So yeah, that works. All right. So I think this is as good a time as it. This is early for us. Only an hour and 25 minutes. All right. So I think this is.
We talked a lot. We talked a lot.
Yeah. Oh, we can talk a lot more with this fucking crowd. All right. Eric, plug something.
I haven't done anything worth of relevance since the last time I talked. Yeah, since the last time I talked to you. But I'm looking forward to making new content. Just when I have the energy and the motivation, and that's basically. But you can check out all my stuff on Hey Internet Eric here YouTube channel. But I'm not hanging out with you jokesters.
Okay. Bill, you got anything coming up? Anything?
Sure. Shout out to my school's drama club, of which I am the faculty advisor. We're doing Little Shop of Horrors,
nice.
which will be good. We got the giant puppet that eats people. So I'm looking forward to getting that together. And as the warm weather approaches, look for the band Otto's Jacket. If you're in the central New Jersey area, we will be gearing up to do some playing very, very soon for you. So look for that.
Okay. And that sounds real good for both of you. This channel, tomorrow night we'll be here with Eric returning as we tackle episode 2 of Mike Flanagan's Midnight Mass.
It's been a long week, dude.
And fuck yeah, that show is going to ramp up like a motherfucker.
You're making me wait once a week.
You know something? Well, here's the thing. There's that on Sunday. I'll be back with Gore because we dropped that fucking The Last of Us bullshit. And we are now going to cover episode 2 of the Showtime fucking classic series, Penny Dreadful. And Gore, like you, was struggling very much because I have them rationing where they can only watch one episode a week.
What a dick.
So you don't binge the whole fucking well, and Gore laid it out perfectly. He's like, what the fuck, man? I want to watch the next episode. He goes, but then I get it. He goes, because if he watched it with his fiance and his son.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, we want to watch more. Like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, if I watch more, when I get into the stream, there's going to be all kinds of overlaps in my thinking and with the conversation because I'm not going to remember where the cutoffs are. Mm-hmm. So he said, I made a deal with them that we can watch the next episode as soon as I finish the stream from the previous one. And then I will watch it one more time before we go on again, just to freshen up because he just loves it so fucking much. So if you want to employ that one. But, I mean, Flanagan is only 7 episodes.
Right. I'm going to do the once a week thing like I'm watching it on TV, but I'm going to watch it like right before we stream. And they're hour long, so I have plenty of time.
Yeah. And then next week, so Midnight Mass tomorrow. Penny Dreadful on Sunday. And then next week on Wednesday, if you guys are available, I'd like to cover the motherfucker of all underrated werewolf films. Ginger Snaps Back.
Wow.
I'd be an asshole if I said no as much as you've been telling me to watch that movie. So.
I've been telling you for 3 years now almost. And it's on fucking Tubi.
Yep, I know. I got it in my queue the last time you put me on the spot, and
I'll take the Pepsi challenge with that against Dog Soldiers.
Ooh, okay. It's just I've just been putting it off because
Pepsi challenge with Ginger Snap.
I told you, I just didn't dig that first one, but you say this is completely different.
It has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with High School Jinx.
Good.
You know, and hijinks and sexcapades.
Girls getting their periods and all that.
Yeah, it has absolutely nothing to do with that. It's about fucking soldiers trapped in a soldier fort under siege by werewolves.
Okay.
I want to go back to the high school girl hijinks and the sexcapades. Wait a minute. You're telling me that's not? That's like that old joke. I think I rented the wrong movie.
There it is. That's the first one. Sexcapades. You got a redhead and a brunette, sisters.
Yeah.
And they're all up to all kinds of high school sexcapades, and it's a werewolf film. And then you got the second one, where it's more of the same.
It looks like more of the same.
And then you got the third one with the same two actors, but it's set about 200 years in the past.
Okay.
And it is a motherfucker of a werewolf film.
You got it, dude. All right.
Next week, Ginger Snaps back on Tubi, free to watch. And like I said, I'll take the Pepsi challenge with that against Dog Soldiers any old day.
That's interesting. Right. Okay, cool. Because I love me some Dog Soldiers.
All right, sounds good then. Same bat channel. My thanks to Billy Boy and to Eric from Hey Internet Eric here.
Yes, sir.
We'll see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. And all right, have a good night, everybody.
Cheers.
All the best.